Welcome to 8 Minutes Chinese. Today, we're unlocking the essential phrases you can use in daily life and master in your next business negotiation.
Imagine sitting in your office, it's like 9:00 a.m. on a Tuesday, and the floor just completely falls out from under you.
Oh, man. The absolute worst feeling.
Right, like the Series A funding you spent 6 months securing just gets pulled at the absolute 11th hour. And while you're, trying to process that email, your lead engineer walks in, hands over a laptop, and just resigns.
A total nightmare scenario. And I'm guessing the news leaks to the rest of the company before lunch.
Exactly. Before you even have time to react, you can physically feel the temperature in the room drop. The collective morale just tanks. Slack channels go completely silent. And you know for a fact that, half your staff is quietly updating their resumes on company Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's the real kicker, the quiet panic.
Totally. But here's the thing. In these exact moments of organizational freefall, this really fascinating divergence happens at the top. Some leaders just completely fold, right? They give in to the panic and scramble for the nearest exit. But others become almost, frighteningly calm. They stand stubbornly firm and refuse to let the ship sink.
It really is staggering to watch because you are essentially watching a real-time stress test of human psychology. You have this sweeping, highly contagious collective panic consuming the broader organization, and it's juxtaposed against this singular, unshakable anchor at the top.
Well, welcome to your custom deep dive. Our mission today is to decode a 2,500-year-old proverb from Sun Tzu's Art of War, and we're going to explore its surprisingly direct applications to modern leadership, startups, and, just resilience in general.
Yeah, it's incredibly relevant today.
It really is, and it all hinges on this one foundational phrase, sanjonggeduoki, jangjonggeduotian. Translated literally, it means you can seize the energy of an army, but you cannot seize the heart of a general.
Right, and Sun Tzu's drawing a very deliberate boundary there between two completely different types of human fuel. To really understand the mechanics of resilience, we have to unpack those contrasting forces.
Okay, so let's break that down. Where do we start?
Well, the first half of the proverb deals with the army, or Sanjun. In a contemporary setting, this represents your broader team, your organization, or your employees. And their primary fuel source is qi.
Qi, which is typically translated as energy, momentum, or the collective morale, right? It's basically the vibe of the group.
Exactly. When a company is on a winning streak, the qi is palpable. Deals are closing, people are staying late because they actually want to, and the momentum feels entirely self-sustaining.
But the text highlights a vulnerability there, doesn't it?
It does, a critical vulnerability. Sun Tzu uses the phrase "keiduo" when describing the army's energy, which means it could be seized, stripped away, or stolen.
Wow. Stolen.
Yeah, because qi is inherently fragile. It's highly reactive and relies almost entirely on positive reinforcement from the outside world. So if a competitor unexpectedly launches a superior feature, or, the macroeconomic environment suddenly tightens.
Like the funding getting pulled in our Tuesday morning scenario.
Exactly. That external event instantly suffocates the qi.
So it's a dependent variable. The team's energy is basically at the mercy of conditions they have zero control over.
Spot on. Which brings us to the second half of the proverb, focusing on the general, or yanzhen. The general operates on a profoundly different power source called xin.
Xin.
Yeah. Xin translates to the heart, the mind, or this core intrinsic conviction. Where the army relies on external momentum, the leader relies on internal belief.
Let me test an analogy here just to make sure I'm getting this.
Go for it.
Is Qin basically like a sailboat? Like a sailboat can move incredibly fast, but it is entirely dependent on the weather. The wind is the market conditions, the funding, the good PR.
Right.
And if the wind dies, the boat is just dead in the water. The crew starts to panic because they can't control the sky. But Qin, the general's fuel, is that like a nuclear submarine?
Oh, I like that.
Right. It operates on an internal reactor. It generates its own propulsion deep under the surface, completely irrespective of whether there's a hurricane or just a dead calm happening up above.
That is the perfect visualization. Because a nuclear reactor doesn't care about the weather. It is immune to external pressure. When a founder possesses genuine Xin, no amount of market volatility or competitor saber-rattling can actually touch their core drive.
Because they aren't looking out the window to decide if they should keep moving.
Exactly. They're looking inward at the mission. Think about Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah. Stay hungry, stay foolish.
Right. That ethos is pure Shin. It's deliberate and immune to pressure. We're looking at two totally distinct layers of resilience here. The fragile, highly reactive momentum of the collective, and the bulletproof, proactive vision of the leader.
But wait, that setup creates a massive operational tension, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, if the crew's chi is so incredibly vulnerable to being stripped away, how does the submarine captain actually protect them when the wind inevitably dies? Like, let's bring this down from ancient philosophy into a brutal modern scenario. The exit interview gauntlet.
Ah, yes. The exact moment when the chi is actively bleeding out of the organization.
Right, because a leader can't just sit in their office humming along on their own internal reactor and ignore the fact that the team's energy is collapsing.
Absolutely not. Having strong Zen does not mean putting on blinders to reality. The general cannot ignore the loss of energy. They have to actively manage it. And according to the source material, the strategy requires a very specific and honestly highly uncomfortable combination.
Which is
Radical transparency anchored immediately to an unwavering vision.
radical transparency. But, I mean, the natural instinct for most managers in a crisis is to try and artificially inflate the chi, right? Like put a positive spin on a massive setback or kind of hide the reality of the financial runway.
The classic pizza party while the ship is taking on water.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Throw a pizza party and pretend everything is fine.
And that destroys whatever fragile chi is actually left. Humans, especially highly intelligent employees, are incredibly attuned to dissonance. The moment a leader attempts to fake optimism or lie about funding, the team smells the inauthenticity. The chi dies immediately.
So trying to prop up momentum with deception is just fatal.
It is. The source material argues that you have to tell the brutal truth. You stand up in front of the company and say, "We just lost our biggest client. Our runway is cut in half. The next 6 months are going to be an absolute nightmare."
Okay, but if you stop there, don't you just accelerate the panic? I mean, if I'm an engineer and my CEO tells me we're out of money and it's going to be a nightmare, I am definitely updating my resume before that meeting even ends.
Right, and that is where the yin has to do the heavy lifting. You state the brutal reality, but you immediately bridge it to the core conviction. That's the Apple in the 90s example again.
Oh, when they were near bankruptcy.
Exactly. Jobs came back, and the chi was incredibly low. But his yin never wavered. You follow the bad news by saying, "But here's why we are not quitting. Here's why our vision is still going to fundamentally change this industry. I am staying to build it, and here's how we are going to do it."
So you are essentially transferring some of your internal reactor power to the crew to get them through the doldrums.
You're substituting their lost external momentum with your internal conviction. You provide the certainty that the market isn't providing.
But let me push back on that for a second. There is an incredibly sharp edge to this approach. What if the leader's conviction is just placed in a fundamentally flawed product?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Right. Isn't pushing radical transparency and demanding people follow an unyielding vision kind of reckless if the ship is actually sinking? The line between a visionary with strong sin and like a delusional captain driving the sub into a trench seems dangerously thin.
It is thin. But look, Sun Tzu never claims that having unshakable shin guarantees victory. A general can have absolute conviction and still lose the war because of poor strategy or overwhelming odds.
So what's the point then?
The point is that it's a prerequisite for leadership. The leader simply has to own that risk. If the leader is wrong, the company might fail. But if the leader lacks conviction and tries to fake it, the company will absolutely fail. You cannot fake conviction. People can smell fake leadership a mile away.
Right. There is no scenario where a team lacking chi rallies behind a leader lacking chi.
Exactly. The conviction has to be authentic. And because humans are so evolved to detect fake conviction, this principle actually extends way beyond internal management.
Oh, where else does it show up?
It becomes the exact unspoken metric used by the people holding the purse strings, investors.
Yeah.
We are stepping into the venture capital pitch room now.
Oh, interesting. So when a founder walks in to raise a Series B or C, the investors are poring over the data room. They're looking at, customer acquisition costs, churn rates, month-over-month growth.
Right. They are auditing the company's chi. They want empirical proof of momentum just to let you in the door.
But that's not what gets the check written.
Nope. Seasoned investors know a fundamental truth about startups. The chi will eventually break. A new macroeconomic headwind will hit, a product launch will fail, the spreadsheets will turn red, it's inevitable.
So when they actually write the check,
When a VC writes a $10 or $50 million check, they are no longer betting on the spreadsheets. They are betting entirely on the founder's shin.
Wow. They are evaluating the nuclear reactor. They're asking themselves, when the wind stops, does this person have the internal fortitude to drag us back from the brink?
Exactly. A startup can lose its chi 1,000 times and rebuild. The startup ecosystem is littered with companies that had incredible momentum, hit one roadblock, and vaporized because the founders just mentally checked out.
So losing Shi is recoverable, but losing Shin.
If the general's heart breaks, if they sell out or lose faith, that is permanent, fatal damage to the enterprise.
Which perfectly explains the whole second chance founder phenomenon. I've always thought that looks so bizarre from the outside.
It really does.
You have a founder who spectacularly craters a startup. They burn through $80 million. It's a total wipeout. Everyone knows about it. Yet 6 months later, top-tier firms are funding their next venture. Meanwhile, a first-time founder with a great idea can't even get an email returned.
Right, because if you look purely at the momentum, rewarding that failure makes zero sense.
Yeah.
But through the lens of Shin, it is completely rational.
Because the investors aren't evaluating the ashes of the failed company. They are evaluating how the founder behaved while the building was burning down.
Exactly. Did they lie to the board? Did they abandon their team? Or did they communicate transparently, take responsibility, and fight until the bitter end?
So if the investor believes the general's heart survived the defeat intact, that failure is actually a stress-tested validation of their core conviction.
Yes. It proves genuine conviction cannot be gained or manipulated like a growth metric. You cannot growth hack Shin. Investors look for it, and more importantly, and this is where it gets really intense, your competitors know how to target it.
Oh, man. Yeah. We've established how to protect internal morale and how investors judge you, but what happens when a competitor actively tries to weaponize this philosophy against you?
A deliberate pressure campaign. They launch an attack specifically designed to drain your team's chi.
Like aggressively poaching your senior engineers with absurd salary bumps.
Yep. Or running loss leader pricing just to steal your marquee clients. Or spreading FUD fear, uncertainty, and doubt on Twitter about your product roadmap. It's a full frontal assault on your company's vibe.
So how does the general, the submarine captain, actually respond to that? Because the natural instinct is to get defensive, right? You want to panic, match the salaries, or start a mudslinging war on Twitter.
Of course. But the general doesn't let the competitor's actions dictate their emotional state. The response is highly strategic. First, they don't gaslight the team. They use that radical transparency again.
They stand in front of the team and frame the narrative.
Exactly. You tell them they are coming at us hard right now. They're spending an enormous amount of capital to slow us down. And they are doing this because our upcoming release terrifies them.
Oh, wow. So you re-engineer the attack. You acknowledge the pressure as a sign of success. This friction is proof that we are winning.
Yes. You use their attack to generate your own chi. And then second, you immediately redirect the team's focus to the fundamentals.
Rather than getting drawn into emotional Twitter wars.
Right. You tell the organization, we are not fighting on social media. We are going to build a faster product. We are going to get closer to our customers. We are going to make our value undeniable.
Yeah.
You absorb the external chaos and output hyper-focused execution.
Okay, but this paints a picture of a leader who is almost unnervingly stoic. I have to ask a humanizing question here. Does having this unshakable Shin mean the leader is just an emotionless robot? Do they literally never feel fear?
Oh, the text is definitely not advocating for sociopathy or emotional suppression. The general absolutely feels fear. They experience the sleepless nights, the imposter syndrome, the visceral knot in their stomach when a key engineer gets poached.
So possessing strong Shin is not the absence of fear.
Not at all. The conviction is simply heavier than the fear. Courage is often fundamentally misunderstood as a lack of fear. But true courage is looking directly at the grim, terrifying reality of a crisis, feeling the full weight of the anxiety, and making the deliberate choice to move forward anyway.
The Shin acts as an anchor. It dictates the action even when the emotion is screaming at you to retreat.
Exactly. And the downstream effect of that is massive. When a team sees their leader absorbing incredible amounts of pressure, visibly taking the hits but refusing to deviate from the mission, that resilience transmits down the chain.
It halts the panic spiral.
Yes, and eventually the team's chi bounces back. It's the ultimate test of leadership.
That is just fascinating. The ultimate lesson from 2,500 years ago perfectly matches modern neuroscience. People instinctively sense authentic conviction. So your job as a leader is to protect the team's inherently fragile chi by constantly, transparently communicating your unshakable shin.
It really is the defining characteristic that separates enduring leadership from just, management.
Right. So for everyone listening, take a hard look at your own operating system right now. Whether you are leading a massive global organization, navigating a tricky career pivot, or just trying to manage your own daily momentum, where are you drawing your energy from?
Are you operating like a sailboat waiting for the market to give you permission to move?
Or have you done the quiet, grueling work of building a nuclear submarine? Have you found your unshakable sin? And as you map that out, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to chew on. The source material makes it incredibly clear that if a general's heart breaks, if they truly lose their shin, it's a permanent, unrecoverable loss for that specific battle.
The campaign is over.
It's exactly. But consider the aftermath. Can a leader whose inn has been completely shattered in one arena ever truly heal and reinvent their conviction for an entirely new war? Or does the experience of having your core belief broken fundamentally permanently change who you are as a leader forever? Next time you find yourself in a room where the momentum has completely died, look closely at the people around you. You will know instantly who is waiting for the wind and who is quietly running on their own power.
Hope you loved today's 8-minute upgrade. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.